We got a special guest in the house today. Man, I met this cat. I want to say I feel like I've been knowing you for years, but it's only been what, three, 3 years,
3 years.
2 years?
Yeah,
Oh shit, we got an
3 years
anniversary
this
coming
year.
up. No, I'm kidding.
I
um, this cat, it's weird how he got to Colorado. It's kind of a testament to like how people should be grinding and looking at investing in themselves into the future and also taking a chance on himself. It was mad crazy because my man had like some real live shit happening. The wife was pregnant. He's like, "Yo, we gotta pick up. We gotta go from the NY to Colorado." And it's a big trust thing
uh,
too, right? So, but now he's in Colorado, killing it. Yo, I can't even get booked by this cat, and I know him.
definitely,
My
definitely.
man, 100 grand, Fade Don. What's up, brother? How you doing out there?
What's up, brother? I'm doing good. I'm definitely doing good.
That's
Appreciate you having me on this, brother.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much, man. So so Don, as we joke back and forth, he actually cuts at Altitude Barbershop, and he's got a lot of other things going on right now, but very interesting as far as his maturity and his approach and what he's been able to accomplish in a short amount of time is really inspirational for those um who try to think that they're at that level, but they're just not at that level. And it takes it takes a certain amount of dedication and hard work to get it done. So hey brother, let's start off with the question I always ask everybody, brother. How do you get into barbering?
I got into barbering back in Guam, actually. So, you know, I was 14, 13 years old, and my brother, his name's Roy Flores, he used to cut all our hair. And there's a family of six of us, just three boys, though. And at the time, he was always just chopping up everyone in the village, and that's pretty much it. It was all everyone in high school and everything. So, how it went down was he would give everyone haircuts, but no one ever gave him a haircut. So that was pretty much it. So how it went down, he I started watching, videos on, this was back when YouTube was popping off, and we had the Vix and Tyreek and Kenny D and all those guys, and they were just dropping gems. And that was it, though. Nowadays, people will utilize that information. Back in the day, that was all it was just YouTube and that kind of content. So jumped on there, ran it up pretty much, and obviously it was the Wal or the Kmart Clippers. It wasn't even Walmart back in Guam. It was Kmart. So we had the Kmart Clippers, and it wasn't even. It was everything was all half-assed. So didn't have a trimmer at first. This is when Wall dropped their 3-in-1, so or 2-in-1. So it was a clipper and a trimmer, and it was just an
What?
attachment for it. Yeah. So they have it now. They have it. They definitely have it still.
Yeah.
Um, and everything. I didn't know it was all basic stuff, and I used to give obviously the crappiest haircuts out there, and getting into designs and then trying to do it, and it all came full circle now because everything that people saw back in the day when I would cut, it would end up being me that cut everyone in high school, and cutting in the classrooms and all that stuff. So we definitely we came a long way, but for the most part, everything based out of Guam. So yeah, shout out to Guam pretty much for that
So
because it
so
was my brother.
so you said you was cutting in high school. Like,
Yeah. So how it went, I don't know if they do it out here for sure, but I used to set up clippers in my art class, and we'll just get cracking, honestly. No, we'll have lines out the door, and everyone from my village, and then it ended up being coming over to other villages, and it was a small island, so we ended up knowing a lot of people, but it definitely ended up being a high school thing, and there was other barbers, but that's kind of where I knew the name of the game when it came to who's the top dog and who's not and who's still learning, da da da. So we definitely we learned from it, and that's pretty much where we were at the point. And then after high school, when I turned 18, I moved to Hawaii, and with my my wife or girlfriend at the time, and um, that's when everything kind of calmed down, and I wasn't cutting up anyone as much. So I ended up cutting just my brother-in-laws and people like we knew from Guam that were in Hawaii. So I'll end up getting my reps in that way. And for the most part, that was it. And then we went from Hawaii, stayed there only 8 months, 9 months, moved to New York, and then that's when shit started popping off. That's when
For
I got
sure.
obviously, yeah, New York is New York, so you get the opportunity, you just run with it. So that's the most part for that one, and I loved it. I love that grind up there. That the only reason is, I always preach it, but if you move away from your home state, that's definitely what tests you the most. Like I get, people want to be the hometown hero and they want to do all that stuff, but I feel like where you're most uncomfortable is where you're not known. So that's how it came about, and that's pretty much it for that. Especially coming up in the barber game.
So if I was to go to Guam right now, right? Because I know, like you said, resources, right? Even now, the whole basis behind Barberview is to like give everyone access to everything, so they could see what everyone's doing, see what someone's doing in Dubai versus Guam versus Fargo, North Dakota. Shouts up to my man Will Dort. Like
Yes, sir.
trying to make the world smaller. So in Guam, was it like style cuts? Like if I was to get a cut in Guam, would it be something like you would see in the US, or would it just be like your basic joint?
Yeah, definitely basic. It was weird though, because back in the day, it was always a one, and it's the hottest place in the world. So you would think, like, being so close to the equator, you think that everyone will get skin fades and stuff. That's not where I started. And where I started was obviously Asian hair. So that was off the rip. Like, I was cutting a lot of Asian hair, but it was never down to, below anything under one. So I learned that honestly up in New York, and we only had one black ethnic guy that stayed is in Raha and Guam. So that's my village, and only one black dude. He would not trust me to cut his hair. I ain't gonna lie, he would not trust me. And from the rip, I was, it's cool like cutting the same hair, but it feels better when you're actually getting out there and communicating with other cultures and other people from if it's Trini to even Hawaii or Australia, you see more. That's why I moved stateside, was because I knew I was gonna flourish out here and get more of a connection with other cultures. And on Guam, we're based off of culture, so everything from our root all the way up to my grandparents and stuff. It was always to take care of everybody. So when it came to it, that's how it went into barbering and community, just all the community based stuff. I definitely started talking to people, and it's hard for anyone to even make it out of Guam, honestly. That's why I say, it's once you get your shot, you definitely gotta jump at it, because you're not gonna get that opportunity again.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that story. Um, in regards to so is Guam known for any like but in this everywhere, everyone's got a name, right? But if I was to say,
Yeah.
if I was to say who is the best barber in Guam, or who is repping Guam in a barber sense, will you say that your name is up there just based on the status and the things that you've had today, or is that even the approach that people from Guam have?
They definitely, I feel like they have their approach. I feel like the biggest problem we have at the moment is obviously there's not a lot of traditional Guam barber, like Chamorro barbers. So that's our culture. Chamorros, like you'll have the Filipinos and Japanese and Asian and just in general, and it's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, they're hustling, because in the Philippines you can't do that. So going back to Guam, I would say I'm up there as a Chamorro, because people don't make it as a Chamorro in Guam. It's usually either people that move from, like I said, from another hometown to that island or to
Hmm.
that state, and then they start thriving. But as a hometown, trying to be a hometown hero, I get it, but I feel like I don't see myself. I would put myself up there, but I feel like for the newer generation, there has to be someone that takes my place.
No
Definitely.
doubt. Well, because there's
Yeah.
always that next generation, right? And even in the
Exactly.
time that you've been cutting, you've seen it kind of flip twice, where there's not. I mean, you're not OG, but
Yeah.
but you can say but you can say we could probably honestly have the conversation that compared to the people coming up, you are kind of an OG to that generation, because if they're looking
Yeah.
past you, they're looking at people like me and like Chris
Yeah.
Murphy. Shout out to Barbara Murph. Like they like respect, but they kind of like, but Don relates with me. He's in my same bracket, so I could fuck with him a little bit better and have a different vibe, right? So totally get it. Makes sense. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you have something to say about that?
No, but yeah, that's definitely the case because everyone, a lot of people want to be, not that they want to like really communicate with old heads, but it's obviously that's where everyone gets it from, and they want to really talk to them. But I just feel like if you're younger but you have that mentality, you'll definitely thrive a little bit better as a barber for sure. Just because people always, in out in one ear out the other, and it's cool. But I feel like definitely people will just they'll work off of someone that actually is more trendy, hip to it. And it doesn't matter if you're 30, 35. Like Tyreek was just on a video the other week, and he was talking about how we may have all the internet stuff and all the social media stuff, but in reality, he was talking to this old guy, and he has the experience, and that's really all it is. That's all he needs is the experience behind it. Obviously, you're gonna get a little tech savvy with it, but for the most part, as long as you have the experience and it's in your head, you're gonna run no matter what. It doesn't matter what generation you're with. You're gonna get in their head almost.
Absolutely. For sure. So when you came to New York after going from Guam to Hawaii to New York, right? Um, did you feel like you still needed a couple more tools in your toolbox, or you was like, yo, I got this shit, I'm gonna kill it? Walk with me about when you stepped on the turf. Where were you at mentally, to where you thought you were to where you were really at skill wise?
Definitely, I did hold myself to a standard, so that was definitely the case. I just when I went up to New York, so how it really went down was I was working at the PX in the air or in the army base,
Hmm.
and one of the guys up there gave me a shot to work at their shop, and I was posting a lot still. I was definitely posting on social media. I was just that army barber, like cutting everyone in the in the base and stuff,
Uh
and
huh.
word got on the street, and he got it, and I didn't want to take it. It took me almost a year to get that actual or not to get the shot, but to actually step my foot in the door. So I got my feet wet a little bit, and honestly, I'm gonna say after the first like 2 weeks maybe, I was in it. I was like, okay, this is it. Like I'm gunning for it, and I knew what I had to offer, so I threw it out there, and people were coming back. So it was a different culture. Obviously, New York, they're definitely based off of a lot of Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and ethnic hair. And
Shouts
I
out to my
did not
Latin
know.
people. What up?
Yes, sir. And the crazy thing is I've never touched that grain of hair ever. Never touched ethnic hair, and out here, in fact, like that's really all I have now. I have all the Ghanaians and the Jamaicans and the Nigerians and the just so forth, and that's why I have the confidence now because I came up from doing Asian hair, and then after that, I was just straight ethnic hair, and that's just what people love. So I ran with it, and it took a while though. It definitely took a while for me to step in the door because obviously money wise, I didn't know what barbering had to offer and if I could actually do it. And everything was obviously just being a garage barber. Everyone has that story, so I definitely feel like it's a good story. Being a garage barber, getting out, and then actually flourishing in a good barbershop. But Everyone's story's different, man, and mine definitely came a long way, boy.
So cutting I'm assuming you was cutting on the base, or you said you was cutting on a shop that was near the base. I'm sorry.
Definitely on the shop near the base. Not even 4 miles away, 3 miles
Gotcha.
away,
So
and
yeah. So like in regards to the repetitions, right? We always talk about reps and reps. How much was those cuts going for near that shop?
upstate New York on base, you know that for the fact it was $8, but
That's
off base it was
correct. And that was
yeah
20
off.
what? 2013, 14, 15? Like when
That
was
was
that?
that was 2016. We got there and we left 2018 or something like that. 2019. So we were up there for a minute, and that what I was charging in that guy's barbershop was $25. And yeah, I'm at 50 to 100 right now, so you could just tell what Colorado does for you.
Yo, so check it. Um when people who went to the base to get their haircut, when they first get their first grown cut, right? Do you have to sell it? Like, do you have to be like, look, bro, like you're paying $8 and you're going to something where you got more advanced tools,
Yep.
more style, more experience. Was it something that needed a lot of convincing, or when people because you came up in the IG era, but like when I was coming up, it was like you had to like hear from someone, get a reference, and have a
Oh,
cosign, right, before you gamble on that cut. But tell me a little bit about that. Like, did you have to do a lot of convincing for
yeah,
those that was going from the $8 to the $25 cut?
definitely there was a lot of convincing. I feel like so I was literally at that gap era where people still had the books, had the like a tattoo artist where they had the books to open and you had all your haircuts in it. And then fast forward like a couple years later, I started with the IG, and people obviously fed off of my marketing through that. But when it came to it, I don't feel like there was a lot of I didn't have to persuade people just because of the name of the shop and the rep behind it. But definitely my name, by like where I was at the time, I definitely did have to, I had to sell it a little bit, but definitely not too much because everyone at the end of the day knew I was the professional, They knew that, you know, you're just free to work pretty much. And for the cultured people, like ethnic and that's all I had up there. And that was the hardest part was because they came from that background of like growing up with their barber from 3 to, 18 right when they get into
Mm-hmm.
the military. And you're just like, wow, like I went from Fahim down in Pennsylvania coming up here trying to get cut, Like people will make that drive, but at the same time you're gonna have to persuade them at that, or you're gonna obviously let the Clippers work and just go with it, honestly. And I had the confidence in my ability to give those cuts. That's why I obviously did decent. So that was in the way beginning. I when I look at my pictures from now to obviously when I was in New York, definitely a major upgrade for sure. Yeah, definitely. I definitely stepped the game up for sure because I was it was definitely a crazy time.
That's crazy, bro. I know um at the shop you're at now cutting, you knew someone that knew someone that was at the shop. And what came up in the process of you, like, because you said you moved to Guam, you moved to Hawaii, and you went to upstate New York, but
Yep.
now you're thinking about moving to Colorado, to Denver
Yeah.
specifically. No family, just some people you may have known on a personal level. What was that conversation like between you and your now wife to convince her, or was she already like, I want to move out of upstate anyway? But kind of tell me about what type of trust did you have to put into that process in making such a drastic move?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of talking because we were so we were so comfortable in not that we are comfortable in upstate, but we were
You was
there and we're
you was
just in the
good.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was with just being in the area, first off, New York is just upstate New York was just a hellhole for first off because all the snow and stuff. So that was off the rip. That was the reason I wanted to leave, and then yeah, for the most part, it was we were having the baby and we were already 22 at the time or 21, and it was just time to move out. And when the conversation came up, we knew that barbering had taken a different level for our family in general. Because if it wasn't for barbering, I definitely probably would have been still in either a parent's house or whatever the case is, or whatever reason it would be. But definitely, barbering kind of changed my life forever when I started doing better in it. Because at first it was a hobby, and definitely I feel like with barbering, it's definitely a gateway profession, but at the same time, if you play the cards right, you're gonna end up doing better in it. And when it came down to it, I got the call. He said, just honestly, it was just straight up like, "Oh, do you want to move to Colorado?" And we're closing the shop up there, and Murph at the time, Barbara Murph didn't even have a chair for me. So I was kind of iffy. I was in that zone of finding another barbershop. I was gonna move to Colorado regardless, but then I hit brother Dane up over at Banter Barber. Shout out to him,
For sure.
and he, we're literally about to have the conversation of if if I'm gonna go over there, and he was still in the middle of him doing his renovations at his shop, and then I got the call. It was either you or um Ray, but one of them, one of you guys said, "Oh, we had a chair open," and just guns blazing. I literally the day of, I was there at 7 a.m., put my stuff in the shop, and I wanted to state my claim. So I was like, "Okay, no one else is taking this chair," because I freaked out. I freaked out how quick that chair left, and then obviously something came up, so I took
Yeah.
it over, and I've been literally in the same chair since.
Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, I know who chair that was, but we'll go ahead and talk about that off
Yeah.
off the off the side. But now that it
Yeah, well,
comes up, I'm like,
definitely.
oh, that's right, man. Because we did have some trades that had to go to a different team, but that's another story for a different day.
Definitely.
So you get to Colorado, man. Day one, first cut, like what was your feeling? Like, was this the right choice? Were you on the fence? Like, kind of talk to your emotions for me.
I was definitely confident. I ain't gonna lie, I was definitely confident. Having a kid and stuff that just drives you pretty much sink or swim, pretty much. So I was in there. First cut was a really good friend now, Aaron, and yeah, I just cut him up, and the first thing Murph said, obviously, he was gonna tell me, he was gonna look at my cut since whatever the case was, and he looked at the cut, and I was like, I did a low fade, and yeah, I did the cut, and he left happy, and I was like, okay, that's at least a good thing. And then Murph's like, oh, that was a clean fade. I was like, oh, that's what I needed, bro. It's been months. I took a while. I took a
Uh-huh.
break, not a break, but I was moving, so it was a good month. I took off, and then yeah, after that, you get when you're first in a barber shop, you're gonna get those walk-ins that are just. Oh, they're a lot, and you get the old heads, you get the young ones, you get the picky ones, and then I started picking up a niche of finding people from the gym, and that's how I cannot express it enough, but find a good group of people and just run with them. And I'm telling you right now, how I did it was that August, I started doing a reference pay. And how it went was I had my homie Steph, and then he had like six buddies, every
Wow.
single one. So it'll be if I cut him up and then he refers someone, I'll cut him next cut half off, whatever the case was. That whole group started coming to me, and it was pretty much over. And then
Now,
go ahead.
I want people that's hearing this and watching this to understand this. He took one person that he cut, and he knew that he knew people in the gym. If you
Yep.
bring someone to me, I'll give you half off. End up being a total, like you said, 6 to 8 people.
But honestly, for his group though. that was the thing. It was his group, so he had close homies, obviously, and then Steph knew Mike. Mike went. Mike had a bunch of people from Ghana, for example, or he does, but he brought every Ghanaian in there, and I started learning the culture. I was like, dang, like you know Mike, I know Mike, and it just kept going after that. So after that base, it just kept going from those guys, and then it went to Google. Then it went to, because I don't know if anyone knew this, but Google pays, they'll pay a certain barber or a certain company to come to their business to cut hair. Not a lot of people know that. So it's the same with Google, Aerospace, and Amazon, for example. And all it is you get in with their marketing or whoever it is, and you pretty much you pretty much get with them and sign a contract or whatever the case is, and then they start feeding you clients. And I'm talking 10, 15. I was having my first week, after I did that referral pay, was I was getting at least 50 clients that week, brand new.
Oh my
And
god.
that's, and if you think about it, 50 clients, that's, and those are returning clients if you do the job, obviously. Like you have to do
Hmm.
the job off the rip. But when it came to it, when it comes to marketing, I don't fucking play, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like
Hmm.
that's just like in my
Well, it's
DNA
your
at this point.
brand. I mean, it's
Exactly.
you. If you don't market you, who's gonna market you? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's the truth. That's why, whenever I tell youngins, like it's cool to have a versatile um, approach at marketing, but I feel like you could take the literalist thing and just run with it. Because when it came to it, when I started doing that, that was the only time in Colorado I ever did a referral pay, was in August of 2019 or 2020. And because I noticed before that, I was basing all my stuff off um, walk-ins. And then when I noticed I could start just bringing people in and I'll have something in common, because in reality, the thing in common is that either everyone has to go to the gym or everyone works at the same business. And that just keeps the conversation flowing. And that's what I learned out here. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, you when you put down a crazy cut, it's like a billboard. Your own advertisement and marketing is walking out of that door. And
Yep.
even when I've lived in 9 different states, and the first
Yep.
thing I say, I think that's how I found Mike. When I
Yep.
was getting shouts out to Mr. Michael O'Leary,
Big
man.
Mike.
Big Mike. He's got the six
Yes,
pack
sir.
popping. Yo, I see him. Yo, Mike, I'm coming for you, Mike. I don't know when, but I'm coming for you.
Uh, I'm coming
but
for the
like,
neck, boy.
but like,
Uh,
um, it's a billboard. So if you put down a clean cut and you got a group of people, the first thing they're gonna be like, "Yo, who cut you up?" And from
yep.
there, it just takes off, man. So that's good detail. Of course, you come to a new spot, right? And this is an interesting conversation as well. You come to a new spot. Of course, you're not booked out, right? New
Yeah.
spot, new barbershop. How long did it take for you to go from not being booked out to like being all the way booked out? Just so people could
It took,
understand the time it took.
yeah, definitely with the tools and the marketing and the way you approach it, it probably took me like a year max, probably less than a year, just because you have the people that are moving, you have the people that are staying, you have the people that are just testing the waters, and you're, in reality, when you first move into a barbershop, you're kind of a backup barber, and then yeah, that was the case mostly. So I feel like it took me a year for sure, and then to really find a good group, because after a while, once you start getting booked, you can start picking people, and not being trying to sound messed up, but that's just the reality of it. Like you're gonna want to cut like really, really people that will they'll just love being with you almost. You know what I mean? That's why I at this point I'm picking my clients. I still cut everyone, but for the most part, I definitely feel like if you just put your mind to it with marketing everything, I feel like you'll achieve max. I wouldn't say, if it's anything more than 2 years, you're doing something wrong. That's all I'm gonna say. If you're doing something, if you're still, if you say that you can book out a Saturday and Sunday, let's see you try and book out a Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
because is in reality people are at work. Obviously, it's a different age now with people working remote and stuff. But if you can book out a slow day, which is my days before were Tuesdays, because no one's trying to come in the middle of the week. And then if you can book out a Tuesday, we'll talk now. Then you'll be in the category of being booked out. But if you're just smushing everything into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever the case is, then that's a different story because everyone's gonna want to cut for like Fourth of July. The shop is jam packed right
Of
now.
course. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And it's towards the weekend. It's a Monday. It's towards the weekend. The Avs just won the Stanley Cup. Shout out to that. But in reality, everyone wants to cut towards the weekend. And if you could, like I said, if you could book out a Monday, Tuesday, or even a day you're off. Let's say you're off. Like I'm off Saturday, Sundays now. Like let's say I open a random Saturday on July 22nd or whatever it is. Let's say I open up a random Saturday. If you can book that Saturday months out, you're booked up because people don't know you work Saturdays anymore. But if they see something, they're like, oh damn, like this man's working Saturdays now. But in reality, it going back to it, it took me a year, and that was just with good marketing, honestly. And shout out to the boys at the shop right now because without them, obviously, I wouldn't be here either. But it's a mind game. It's really up to you in reality because it's not up to it's not up to your colleague to bring a client in for you. It's really not. It's up to yourself and how much business cards you pass out, how much messages you send out. Like right now with CU, I cut up every coaching staff on the football team right now, and that's just what it is. And that was off a referral base. And the dude that sits in my chair, DJ Bryan, he's a Super Bowl champion. He played
Wow.
with Ray Lewis down in Baltimore. So it's just shit like that you have to like take into just be mindful of it and just run with it. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're moving at a right pace because
Pace.
people
Yeah.
yeah people overdo it and you're just like I don't know, and then they kind of get dead, and then they try and pick back up, but people are already moved on. They're on to a different either barber you know in a different city. So I just feel like if you use the right marketing tool and you find a good tactic to use, run with it, and you're definitely going to be booked out. Within a year,
For
within a year or
sure.
two. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with my homie Manolo Styles. What's up, brother? It was an
Yes,
interesting
sir.
conversation. He was telling me, and I totally get it. When you're an OG and when you're booked, like you said, you could pick what you want to cut, and that's working. So he was like, "Hey, Mario, real talk. It's smarter for me to cut the heads that I want because it makes me more efficient and it makes me more money. Being that you're in a position to where you book solid and you can literally pick. What's your thoughts on a comment like that? Does that apply to you as well, where you can give specialized service to those that you feel that you could be very efficient with?
Definitely. I feel like he was in the right space when it came to it. Like I'm the same way. This is like back then too though. Like if someone has good hair, you're gonna want to keep them. And especially now with how social media is, if you have someone with good hair, good contrast on the skin to the head, and you just run with it, you're gonna get good marketing tools off of it. You could eventually take one head and turn it into a G because someone wants to use it in a book or I mean in a magazine or something. And that's
Yeah.
just I feel like I feel like that's correct. I think it's accurate to an extent, but like I said, that's if you're booked though. Like if you're actually like if you actually could pick your clients. Like I have the occasional clients that I love to cut, but then for some reason I'm just not feeling it today. You know what I mean? And then with me with photography, I take it really like I love to do it. I love to see how a camera would take my picture or my haircut and put it obviously on a frame or on, on social media and see how I did it. And I just feel like the what he was saying was accurate to an extent, but I it really depends on how efficient you are, how booked you are, how, if you're, even if you're all your ducks in a row, like it really depends on how all that comes into play. So in reality, he's accurate. I feel like he is, but he earned that, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like he's
absolutely.
earned, yeah, like he's earned to say like, oh yeah, I could pick him. Like no offense, but fuck Tom, I'll take Brad, or whatever the case is. And that's only because
Absolutely.
that's only because let's say he wants to get a good picture of Tom, and it's gonna, I don't know, shoot him up for views or whatever the case is, and that only benefits him in reality. He gets the money off of it too, but there are people out there like when I cut athletes or anything of that sort, people think that it's cool to just get pictures and give them a free cut. That is not the case, man. Like it's
It's a
cool. It's
service.
cool.
It's still a
Yeah,
service.
yeah. Like I don't care
It's
if you're.
labor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's cool to cut athletes and stuff, but you cannot tell me that my service is going unpaid, because I'm not about that shit at all. I
So
don't care if you're, Biden or some shit.
why is our customers that we cut on a regular basis generous with tips, but those who think they have a
Ooh,
status want like a discount? What in the right mind think that 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 they could just ask for that? That's insane. It happens all the time.
it definitely happens all the time. Damn, that's a. I get that question. It's just, I don't know. Like where my prices are right now. Like they're so high. You know what I mean? Like if they tip me, they tip me. If they don't, they don't. And off of, I got snipers for eyes, bro. I'll know from a rip if you don't tip good. You know what I mean? Like if you don't tip good, or if you tip a lot, like that's gonna bring in, like, okay, that's another reason. That's another reason why people will pick clients, is because, oh, I got a fat tipper over here. This dude only gives me $3. You, oh my god, bro, you cannot. And that's how I am now, especially in restaurants and anything valet or whatever the case is. I tip big now, because
I
if
paid
it
forward,
wasn't for my,
bro.
yeah, and that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you ain't gonna catch me if it's some wild shit, and like let's say like reality, someone really does like fuck up a haircut. Like I wouldn't blame them for not tipping. I ain't gonna lie, but when it's a service, any service, even if I'm tickling your chin or some shit, like I want my money. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna expect me to put my time and effort into something, especially with how much time and effort I put into it, like how many years I've done this already, you know what I mean? So I just feel like it's really up to the client, or not up to the client. It's up to the barber if they want to keep dealing with those non-fat tippers pretty much. But I don't know. I just feel like they they do take that part serious more than the actual how much they pay for the cut. Like if it's $50, they'll say okay, go ahead, and then people will expect $10, $15, and then that's when they start tripping out. I'm like, you just paid $50. Like how the hell is $15 extra gonna like really affect you that way? And it's one haircut. Like it's if you see them or not anyways. But I feel like with tippers, I personally don't really see that stuff, just because like I said, I pick my clients. So I'll see the money coming in. But
I love
for the
it.
people, for the new generation that don't get it, they have to suck it up. Like it's either you want someone in your chair, or you want to just sit around and not get a cut. Like it's either you take the $50 flat, and then come 2 years later in, and you're still cutting the same guy, and let's say he tips you $20, you're gonna feel great that you kept the guy. Honestly, it's better
Yeah,
to be busy than to be not. So I
good.
just, yeah.
That's some good stuff, man. in regards to your skill, right? Because in a place like you traveled a lot, you was in Guam, you was cutting a certain amount of hair, then you went up to New York, you was cutting hair. In Denver, bro, you're cutting like everything because everyone's moving to Denver, right?
Exactly.
Skill wise, I know we always think that we could learn more, but is it to the point now to where you just, you got your mashed potatoes and you got the gravy on, but
Yeah.
how much more of a ceiling do you think a barber with your experience? Now, for those, I want to be crystal clear about experience. Experience doesn't have to come with specific time. It could come with specific repetitions and investment in your craft, right? So there's two different ways to look at it.
Yep.
Um, I'm sure you've cut over 10,000 heads easy, without a doubt.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Off the rip.
Shouts out to Mike. We had this big discussion about what's an OG barber, and Mike said, no, a master barber. And Mike was like, if you don't cut 10,000 cuts, you're not a master barber. Some people may be like,
Exactly.
I have 10 years. But what if you cut 5 heads a day over 10 years compared to someone that's cutting for 4 years and put down 15 cuts a day? so it's
Jeez.
so it's a it's debatable, right? But
Yeah, it definitely is.
how much more do you think you have to grow as a barber? Someone that's very popular already, you're booked solid for weeks and weeks and
Yeah.
weeks. How
Yeah.
much more of a ceiling do you have? Is there even a ceiling?
There's definitely not. Especially with my daughter. That's off subject, but definitely with my family. You know, like any situation, you wanna keep growing, be a sponge. Everyone says that, like soak everything in, just really adapt to it. And I feel like you're gonna end up seeing at one point in your barber career that you're gonna be like, oh shit, I gotta cut hair again. Like it's gonna end up turning into work, but that's when you start finding a different creative side of it. Like for example, anything. Like you could do color, cut, designs, and photography, and still think you still think that you have a higher way to go. So I feel like there's never a ceiling to, especially this craft, because it's like any trade or anything of that sort. Like you would feel like you need to like just teach or anything of that sort. Like there's always something that you're gonna want to end up doing, and that's where I'm at right now. Like I want to end up teaching, or I want to end up just dropping gems like on podcasts or anything of that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's never a ceiling. There never is. There never should be for anyone, even if you're 50, 60 years old. Like those are the old heads that used to cut and they don't have anyone to really work off of anymore. Nowadays, you have 50, 40-year olds that go to these shows, go to these expos, and they want to gain more knowledge within, even if it's social media or marketing tactics or business. Like, that's the thing though, is back then, barbering used to just be strictly just barbering, just cutting hair, picking a pair of clippers, da da da. Nowadays, you got business classes showing up. You got businesses that don't have nothing to do with barbering, but let's say one day you just like, oh man, I want to start getting into jewelry. Then you're gonna have a bigger ceiling. You're gonna keep going. So I feel like never have a ceiling, and you'll definitely be fine. But I just feel like people that do feel like they're up there already, like Mike just said with like the definition of a master barber, that should be trashed. Like that should be trashed 100%, because you got like people in New York that say that they're master barbers, but they're still going to classes, they're still learning stuff. Who are you
Hmm.
learning from? Regular barbers. Because in states that don't have the levels of barbering, which is this state, yeah, you're learning from a barber. Would you say that he's a master barber because you learned from him? He's not comparing him. He's not putting himself at that title. You know what I mean? So I just feel like with states that do offer that the level of master barber and stuff, you definitely got to earn it for sure. But not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry can say that shit at all, at
And
fucking all.
exactly, it's crazy, brother. Man, we could talk all day, but I'm gonna be very
And
respectful of your time, man, because it's
you're
it's so
good,
much.
bro.
But it's so much like things that we may have to do a part one and part two one day, and just
We'll
and
definitely
have
run it.
and have some barber confessions or something. But outside
Yeah,
of that, man, I just wanted to take the time to just thank you for your partnership, your trust, your growth, man. It's very awesome to kind of take a step back to see when you first walked in those doors to where you're at
yeah,
now. It's and you gotta, you gotta appreciate that path. It's just great to know that you could say you're gonna do something and it's executed, right? And
yep,
that means you could keep setting higher goals and just keep pushing and pushing. And whoever is down with you, like your family, your friends, they could be like, if he said it's gonna happen, shit's gonna happen. It's definitely
exactly.
gonna
No, that is
happen.
true. That is true. That is true. Honestly, I do gotta give you your flowers too because yeah, like I just said, we'll talk about that later. But definitely gotta give you, definitely gotta give you, Murph, Mike, Sean, everyone their flowers because I really being in New York was definitely it was a good gateway, but being out here definitely changed the game for me because I was looking at it a different approach, and now that I'm out here, I really could elevate with these guys. So I do appreciate you guys a lot, and let's just keep getting this money.
I love it, man. Yo, so for the people out there, man, tell them how they can get in touch with you. If they could even find a spot. Yo, I can't even get a spot on this calendar, yo. how
Oh
how
shit.
how can someone attempt to book you for a
Def
cut?
Definitely, yeah, you can hit me up on Faded Dawn, FADEDONN, and then book now right in the bio, and then altitudebarbershop.com. I'm at like towards the bottom, so you're gonna have to scroll down to get to me. But yeah, if I see anything, we'll definitely. That's definitely. I appreciate you, man. This is
Oh,
definitely a dope podcast, man. I need
for
my
sure.
shirts.
Dude, you better have it,
I know.
yo.
I
You
need.
you
I
gotta
know.
have
I
that.
know.
Hey, yo,
I
and
know.
and for those, I'll let y'all know when it goes on. But yo, a lineup is not a haircut.
Yeah.
Remember that. You know what I'm saying? Don't be wasting people
Yeah.
time talking about some. I want a lineup. How else you gonna blend all this in if this is all poof the fuck out and you got to get that tight? I mean, that's crazy.
I'm telling you. It gotta be. It's a whole
It's
haircut. It's
crazy
a whole
business, dog.
haircut.
Good shit,
I'm
bro. Well,
telling
thanks
you.
so much for your time, man. Everyone, out there, brother, just I know someone's gonna watch this and be inspired, and they're gonna hear things, especially coming from the island, Guam.
Yes,
Shouts out to
sir.
my peeps in America, Samoa,
Yes,
and a
sir.
Hawaii, all those spots, man. That island mentality is like, yo, I gotta get the bleep off this rock, and I gotta get it. And I think that's kind of you see that grind inside of you, and I think it's very uh understated and underestimated how the mindset can really dictate your ceiling. You feel me?
Oh yeah. Most definitely, bro. Just oh, there's a damn, bro. We can keep talking, bro.
No,
Definitely
we
gotta
got
have
it.
a part two for sure.
Yo, we're gonna have yeah, kind of like a weekly segment, I guess, right? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But
We'll
for sure,
definitely
bro.
run
But
it up.
shouts out, man. I hope your family nice, healthy. 4th of
Appreciate that,
July.
bro.
Yo, everyone, be safe out there. Don't be trying to light like a stick of dynamite and throw that joint. Like, we gotta
Bro,
be smart. We gotta
bro,
be mad smart.
the fines out here in Colorado are 1,500, bro.
1500
What do
if you
you,
get caught with a firework.
bro? Bro, you know how much I could do with
Whoo.
1,500? God dang, boy.
Yo, that's a
But yeah,
crazy amount of money, bro.
I
Well,
know.
I'm in LA
Yeah,
right now, so you might as well get caught with like a kilo of coke instead of lighting a damn firework, because you're gonna do more
oh
time.
shit.
Because you're gonna be doing more
Hell
time
yeah.
doing that. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
dead.
Cool, brother. All right, bro. Well,
Hell yeah,
I'm
bro.
sorry. I know we could talk forever, man, but
No, you're
um,
good.
I appreciate your time, bro. And for
Anytime,
everyone
man.
on the podcast, man, rewatch this. This is like, there's some jewels in this. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
this is your boy Mario Faydon. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Chew.